Well, let's start talking to the Defence Secretary, Grant Shapps, who joins us this morning. Very good morning to you. Straight back, I believe, from Poland yesterday. Thank you for joining us. Look, lots of people very pleased to see this move being made by the Prime Minister and yourself yesterday, this 2.5% increase in defence spending by 2030. What's changed since the spring budget just a few weeks ago when the Prime Minister said this would only happen when the economic conditions allowed?
Morning. Well, look, first of all, very good news, as you say, spending 2.5% of our entire GDP on defence. And I think the thing which we've always said is we'll do this when conditions allow, and the conditions being inflation coming down, so the money's not being spent and effectively frittered away in inflation. And we've had significant success now bringing inflation down from over 11% down to just above 3%. And predicted to fall to its target a year early, or earlier than expected. So I think the conditions are right now, but not only that, the situation in the world, you've seen what's been happening in Ukraine with Putin continuing to prosecute his illegal war. You've seen what's happening in the Middle East with Iran firing on Israel with hundreds of projectiles. So, the world, as we've been saying, as I was saying back in my speech in January, is looking more dangerous. I think it's very important for Britain to play its leadership part. The Prime Minister has stepped up and has done that in a very significant way. And I think this is very, very good news for the United Kingdom, our security, and also for our leadership in the rest of the world.
So where Defence Secretary would you see yourself spending that money?
Well, look, there's a whole bunch of different things that we are doing or that we need to do. So it's a very simple example. We've expended a lot of munitions, so this could be missiles and other things, with Ukraine. And in fact, just yesterday, we gave Ukraine the biggest single package of new gifted items since the war began. All of that needs replacing. But I think also the war in Ukraine showed you really need more of this stuff in the first place. In other words, stockpiles need to be higher. And so one of the things we've said with the additional money is that we'll have an extra £10 billion, £1 billion per year for 10 years, over and above what we'd normally do with munitions. So that's a very good example. But there are very many others, including the way that we treat our people, how good the accommodation is, new technology like the Dragonfire laser weapon, which for £10 a shot could take down incoming drones. So, there are a lot of different things that this money will be used on. But most of all, I hope it leverages other countries to come forward and spend their money properly. So Britain set a 2% target 10 years ago for NATO. We're now saying the new target should be that higher 2.5%, because it's really important that we show dictators everywhere, people like Putin, that we will not be walked over. And that's what this package does.
How are we going to pay for it, though? If there really was all this fat to cut in the civil service, surely you'd have done it already. The suggestion of 70,000 jobs is a huge number.
Well, it sounds huge until you learn that actually this just takes us back to where we were pre-COVID in the civil service. So
You'd
it's
have done
not,
it already.
I think. Well, as I say, we'd announced actually that we were planning to do it. This will take it a little bit faster. But nonetheless, I don't think there's anything unreasonable. I'll give you an example because I'm going to take the cuts in my own department of the Ministry of Defence. We currently, in addition to 188,000 plus people who fight in the armed forces and a huge number of people behind that who support, we have about 60,000 people in MOD. Well, we're saying that by 2028, we think we can manage by 50,000 with 50,000 people. And given new technologies, I don't think that is really particularly extreme.
So you're spending more money on defence, but you're actually cutting defence.
Well, we'll be cutting the bureaucracy behind defence. So we don't think that we need to have, particularly in this world of the technology, AI and the rest of it, we don't think we need to have a bloated central department in order to run defence. We want people on the front line, not officers.
Your predecessor, Ben Wallace, seems to have been implying that a tax cut that was due in the manifesto may now be sacrificed to fund this. Can you confirm that?
No, that won't happen. What we're saying is that this is fully funded. We have worked through all of the numbers. You've mentioned some of how this will be paid for, and it is £75 billion more on defence by the end of the decade. So it is a lot of money, but it is fully funded. It won't require new borrowing or reversing anything that we've been that we've announced. I think it is important to say we have come to the conclusion that the defence of the realm is absolutely essential, and it is a priority for this government. And we're happy. I'm happy to confirm that is deliberate. We are trying to be clear to our adversaries that we will always fund defence. And as the second biggest funder in NATO, as the largest defence country in Europe, we want others to follow our lead and get more money into defence, because without defending your nation, everything else is somewhat by the by. And so it's incredibly important to do this.
Labour may inherit the bill that comes with that. Do you think they'll agree with the spending?
I'm very concerned about their attitude towards all of this. And for a start, Keir Starmer leads a party with various members of his front bench team who voted against, for example, Trident, that's our nuclear deterrent, which is at the cornerstone of our entire military, our entire stance. And, his shadow foreign secretary, his shadow deputy prime minister, all voted against this stuff. Now they're sort of saying, well, we're not sure. We don't think, I just don't think you can trust Labour when it comes to this nation's defence. Let's face it, Keir Starmer twice supported a man, Jeremy Corbyn, who wanted to take us out of NATO, abandon Trident, our nuclear defence, and turn the army into a defence corps. A peace corps, I think it was.
Yeah, well, Labour have said about this that since 2010, the Conservatives have wasted more than $15 billion on mismanaging defence procurement, shrunk the army to its smallest size since Napoleon, missed their recruitment targets every year, and allowed morale to fall to record lows.
Sorry, to be clear on one of those stats, for example, they keep quoting this, 15 billion or whatever they're claiming. This is what happens when you get to the end of the life of the weapon, when it has to be decommissioned, and then they count that in that figure. In fact, actually, we've been, including yesterday, doing much more useful things with those weapons. They would usually just be decommissioned. Anyone would have to do that. Instead, we've been sending them to Ukraine, which I think I'm very proud of. Very relieved to see that package get through the US Congress overnight. $61 billion for Ukraine. And it reminds me of that old Churchill maxim that America usually does the right thing once it runs out of all the alternatives. I'm very, very pleased about that. And we're delighted that Ukraine, through our package yesterday, £500 million plus gifting, America's package is going to get the stuff that it needs to really take on Putin.
Defence Secretary, thanks for your time this morning. I know it's been a busy 24 hours or so for you. Appreciate it. We'll speak again soon. Thank you very much indeed.
Thanks very much.